welcome to Lakeside Barbecue Chats. So let's take a minute and talk about sweating. Not the kind of sweating I'm doing sitting out here in the sun, but the kind of sweating that we want to do with our meat. So you guys have probably heard me refer to letting a piece of meat sweat. Well, I've fielded a lot of questions on this, people actually asking me to elaborate on that. So basically what we're doing is when you put the seasoning on the meat, the sodium in the meat starts to break down the fat in it. And what that does is it causes the meat to look like it's sweating. Now, if you leave it out in the sun, which I always do if I'm at a competition, I'll let it sit out in the sun for 30 minutes maximum, unrefrigerated with my chicken. With the brisket, I'll let it sweat out overnight, same with the pork, because these have a lot of really dense fats in them, and as the sodium in your rubs penetrate, it starts to break down that fat. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about sweating. You season it up. You can see it really good with your ribs too. So what you'll do is you'll season them up and you'll let your ribs sweat for 30 minutes on each side. And by sweating, I mean just letting it sit there and let the rub soak into the meat. And it's going to start to pull a lot of moisture on the meat. Now, you want the moisture, you want the rub to soak into the meat, and you want to see that moisture build up on top of the meat, but you don't want to let your ribs sweat out overnight, because that's just really going to break down all the fat in the rib. And the majority of your ribs out there, unless you're buying, you know, a high-end Compart Duroc or something like that, it's not going to have a lot of fat in it. So 30 minutes on each side of sweating is just fine. Now with your briskets, like I said, your brisket, your pork, that's a big cut of meat. Brisket is a very dense cut of meat. You can let that sweat overnight, and the next morning you're going to see little pools of juice all underneath it. That's what I'm talking about, sweating. So next time you guys go to season, take an extra hour and let your ribs sweat for 30 minutes on each side. Let your chicken sweat for 30 minutes on each side before you form it up or before you cook it. It gives the rubs a chance to penetrate into the meat, and you'll see a noticeable difference in your flavors. So there you have it, a little bit about sweating. So until next time, keep on smoking it.